So joining us live now is Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons. Todd, tomorrow marks Kristi Noem's 100th day as DHS Secretary. So far, more than 66,000 illegals have been deported, but activist judges continue to stand in the way. This week, a court barred the president from using the Alien Enemies Act to send Tren de Aragua gang members to El Salvador. And according to Tulsi Gabbard, there's already almost 1,200 alleged terrorists living in the United States with ties to cartels or to Islamic terror groups. So my question for you, sir, is you already look at the backlog in these immigration courts. It's almost 4 million. We have millions of illegal aliens who are already here. Joe Biden, the Biden administration allowed millions more. How can we have mass deportations while also providing the due process that Democrats want to give all these millions upon millions of people?
Hey, Lisa, thanks for having me. Yeah, no, I think one of the biggest things, especially on the Secretary Noem's leadership, especially in this, you'll see tomorrow at this first 100 days, is the whole of government approach that President Trump and the administration is giving us to go after these foreign actors that are in our country illegally committing crimes and terrorist act. You know, you bring up the backlog of almost 4 million people. Well, if you look at what we've done already with the 70,000 that we've arrested so far, 75% of those are criminals. And I think that's real focus on what ICE is out here doing. The men and women of ICE are out there making communities safer. And through Secretary Noem's leadership and under President Trump, we're using that whole government approach to make sure we're taking care of the communities.
Hey, Todd, it's Joe Concha. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Joe.
3 illegal migrants from Georgia have been arrested in California. They allegedly broke into a home in Los Angeles and beat a man to death. We know all 3 men had ICE detainers on them. What can you tell us about these criminals?
Well, Joe, I think, you highlighting this case is something really important for the American people. So out of those 3 individuals, 2 came here illegally across the border. 1 was released by an immigration judge on a $3,000 bond. The second one was released on a promise that he would check into an ICE office. He never did. The third individual was a tourist visa, and he overstayed that. The bad thing about the third individual is he was arrested and had 2 ICE detainers on him in the past, 1 for burglary and 1 for a drug charge. Had those sanctuary jurisdictions worked with ICE, this person would have been in our custody and removed from the United States. Wow. Yet they were still allowed to stay here in the U.S. and commit crimes. So you have 3 individuals from the nation of Georgia who didn't know each other, who have now met up in the sanctuary state of California in Los Angeles and killed an innocent person. This just highlights exactly why local jurisdictions and law enforcement agencies need to work with ICE. We've got to get rid of these public safety threats out of our neighborhood.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's outrageous, and it happens over and over again. This is the latest example. Todd, Guy Benson here. Tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. We've seen some blue cities and counties afraid that local parades and celebrations might be targeted by your agents at ICE. So Philly and Chicago and a location in Oregon have actually canceled their Cinco de Mayo events because of this. Are those concerns valid? What can you tell us?
Guy, those are not valid at all. That's just, it's a bad narrative that's being spun in the press, right? It's a talking point that a lot of elected officials and a lot of other networks like to use. ICE is not out there rounding up people that are here legally. If you're in the country legally and you have not committed a crime, then by all means, go to a celebration. We're not, ICE isn't targeting U.S. citizens for deportation. This is a false narrative about what the men and women truly do in ICE. And that is really what's taking away from our public safety mission, and it's taking away from our law enforcement mission. These false narratives are just not protecting the communities, but they're stoking fear when they don't need to. ICE would not go into a celebration like that and take any type of enforcement action.
Todd, it's Alicia Acuna. Thank you so much again for being here. Democrat Congresswoman Alexandria OcasioCortez went after border czar Tom Homan and ICE during a town hall Friday night. Watch.
If ICE knocks on your door, they do not have carte blanche to enter. Point blank period. You have the right to turn them away. When we first did one of these seminars, Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people. And he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me.
And she's not the only Democrat who's telling people not to cooperate with ICE. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers has made similar comments. Here's what he had to say just last week.
Trump administration official, in not so many words, apparently threatened to arrest me for distributing guidance that asks state agency employees to consult with an attorney if federal agents show up at state buildings with legal documents. And as disgusted as I am about the continued actions of the Trump administration, I'm not afraid. I've never once been discouraged from doing the right thing.
So, Todd, with all of that in mind, how is the agency responding to this kind of pushback?
Well, at least one thing I'll say is the fact that we're going to continue to do our job, right? If people want to stoke fear and they want to, stand on those platforms and say that it's wrong to work with ICE, well, then shame on them. Prime example is this story we led with out of Los Angeles, right? These were three individuals that shouldn't have been here. One that was already detained, where a police department said this person was a public safety threat, yet they released him, and then this individual went out and killed an innocent person. So for these elected officials, I say shame on you. ICE is a viable law enforcement tool. The men and women of ICE are out there doing a specific mission, much like the DEA, much like the ATF. We're using our immigration authority to remove these public safety threats. And you know what? If these jurisdictions don't want to work with us, like I said in my Fox interview earlier this week, then we're going to come and we're going to take care of those public safety threats. President Trump and Secretary Noem are now allowing the men and women of ICE to let us do our job again. And our job is to protect the American people. And we're going to go into neighborhoods and we're going to take out these public safety threats, with or without the help.
And Todd, we thank you for that. Lisa Booth, again, before we go, I want to get you on this. So we know your agency is asking for the public's health to track down an illegal Jordanian migrant who allegedly tried to breach Quantico last year, and he was later let go by the Biden administration. Now, this isn't the first time an illegal immigrant has tried to trespass a Marine Corps base in the United States. Another base in California was also targeted by a Chinese national last year. What can you tell us about these breaches?
Well, the first thing, Lisa, is that they're very disturbing, right? Marine Corps Base Quantico, one of the premier bases in the DOD, right? Home of FBI Academy. This is really troubling for us, especially when these two individuals were taken into custody by ICE, and then they were released. The individual we're looking for right now, he's a foreign student that never went to school. So he left the state of Virginia to go to the sanctuary state and city of California, Los Angeles, and now he's out there in the wind, and we have no idea where he is. And it's very troubling that someone would come to the United States to study, which is a privilege, yet they're going to try to penetrate a Marine Corps base. And it's very, it's very concerning that we've had a lot of these breaches. I've had meetings with the Department of Defense and the NCIS, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, and ICE is going to partner with them and take these security breaches serious, because we can't have these foreign actors trying to get into our bases. That really is a national security threat, and that's one of the things that ICE can do to help protect our nation. But really, anyone in the California area that has seen this individual, please, we encourage everyone to reach out to our tip line at ice.gov, because we really want to get this individual back in custody.
Important information. Todd Lyons, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Guy, I want to start with you as we reflect on everything that we just heard. A lot of challenges in front of the Trump administration to try to deal with all these illegal aliens that the Biden administration allowed in here. My question to the ICE director, or to Todd Lyons, what can the Trump administration do when we've got this massive backlog? Can you even allow for due process when you've got all these people to deport?
Right. It's so frustrating when you hear people prattling on about due process when it comes to deportations, but they didn't care at all about the rule of law or due process for 10 million illegal border crossings on the way in. That doesn't mean that due process is not important. It is. I think that Congress needs to act. I think ICE needs a lot more resources. I think they need a lot more beds to hold people. They need more agents, and Congress, I think, is going to roll that into the big, beautiful bill, but I think that's an urgent necessity. One other thing I want to say is about the last point that the acting director made on that Quantico breach. I am still blown away by that story. 2 Jordanian nationals, one of whom had just come up through the border illegally. They somehow hooked up, met up, and ended up posing as Amazon delivery men at Quantico. And they were told to stop in their truck, and then they didn't. They were then detained, of course, and then cut loose by the previous administration. I cannot believe that. The fact that that guy is still in the wind is extremely disturbing. And I have no idea on God's green earth how he was let go to begin with, but he was, and it shows you how shockingly reckless the previous administration was.
So, Joe, why were they so shockingly reckless?
That is a great mystery to Guy's point. Like, you try to look at the logic around, say, the Biden administration allowing more than 12 million people into the country illegally. Maybe there was an end game around there somehow to eventually make them citizens and they become Democratic voters, right? Here, what possible motive can you have when someone breaches CIA and then you say, oh, well, slap on the wrist, get out of here? It just is a whole bowl of wrong here. But here we have Tulsi Gabbard. It's very disturbing. There are 400 people in the country currently with ties to Islamic terror groups. I mean, look, it's great that we have Tom Homan, Donald Trump, Kristi Noem doing this outstanding job with the border, 99% drop in border crossings. That's great. We've stopped the flow. But finding these cells is going to be very difficult. Now, what I hope is that we're not at September 10th at this point, once again, with these cells planning something like a September 11th.
But at least you don't hear about these stories as much in the media, but you hear about the story of the mom with the child and, you know, trying to bring the human element. Right, exactly. So, you know, what is your interpretation of how the media has covered the immigration angle since President Trump's been elected?
Well, I think they follow whatever can be convenient for the people who are there kind of rooting for, you know? I mean, we heard about the Maryland father, and then all of a sudden we're finding out, actually, he's been accused of multiple abusive situations with his wife. We found out that there were cops who suspected him of human smuggling and that sort of thing, and then it was no longer convenient for him to be the poster child for due process, like what we're talking about. So I think there is a challenge there in the media trying to figure out how to follow Democrats on this.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to cover for this show. All right, coming up, Secretary of State Marco Rubio revealing the Biden administration kept secret files on Americans they believed were, quote, vectors of disinformation. We'll ask State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce who the targets were. But first, an update on a story that you heard first here on the Big Weekend Show. The Secret Service is now aware of the teacher in Maine who's calling for the deaths of Trump and his supporters. Stay with us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.